Last night, the Dominion voting machine company filed a public version of their brief in their defamation lawsuit against Fox News. And that brief included dozens of incredible behind-the-scenes quotes about how Fox News head honchos really actually feel. And in a lot of ways, the story that Dominion lays out is the story of the fear of Tucker Carlson and his colleagues. Dominion alleges that Fox News changed its coverage of Dominion's voting machines and the 2020 election out of fear that if Fox didn't stay loyal to Donald Trump and his followers, the network would lose its audience and with it, a whole lot of money. On November 7th, Fox News' decision desk called the 2020 election for Joe Biden. Dominion revealed a text sent from Tucker Carlson to one of his producers that day after Fox called the election. And it said, "Do the executives understand how much credibility and trust we've lost with our audience? We're playing with fire for real. And an alternative like the ultra-conservative channel Newsmax could be devastating to us." 3 days later, the president of Fox News, a man named Jay Wallace, texted Fox News CEO Suzanne Scott. The Newsmax surge is a bit troubling. Truly is an alternate universe when you watch, but it can't be ignored. Fox News CEO replied, yes. To which Fox News president responded, trying to get everyone to comprehend we are on a war footing. On November 12th, 2020, Fox News host Sean Hannity and his guests went big on the idea that something was amiss with the 2020 election.
It is now 9 days after Election Day, and today more reports of dead people voting from beyond the grave. Amazing system we set up. Several days ago, Dominion came under heavy fire after allegations that their machines caused thousands of votes in one Michigan county to be switched from Donald Trump to Joe Biden.
Here's one thing I know, Sean. Those Dominion software systems, they changed more votes than Vladimir Putin ever did.
That night, President Trump tweeted that Fox News host Sean Hannity's show was a must-see because of his takedown of the horrible, inaccurate, and anything but secure Dominion voting system, which is used in states where tens of thousands of votes were stolen from us and given to Biden. A newer Fox News correspondent, a woman named Jackie Heinrich, decided to fact-check Trump's tweet, pointing out that top election infrastructure officials have said that there is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised, which is exactly how reporters should have responded to the claims that Trump was making. But later that night, in a group text that apparently exists with Fox News hosts Laura Ingraham, Tucker Carlson, and Sean Hannity, Carlson texted Hannity, "Please get her fired. Seriously, what the F?" He did not use the letter F, by the way. "It needs to stop immediately, like tonight. It's measurably hurting the company. The stock price is down. Not a joke." By the next morning, Heinrich had deleted that fact check. The entire filing by Dominion is bonkers. And yes, that's a technical term. It reads like a novel. There are direct quotes from senior figures in the Fox News universe admitting privately that they knew the election was not stolen, despite the paranoid conspiracies exploring the very opposite idea, the conspiracies that were all over the Fox airwaves. You should really read the whole thing. Well, we can tweet a link to it. But the one you really need to see is this. On January 5th, 2021, Rupert Murdoch, the owner of the media empire that Fox News is part of, he emailed Fox News CEO Suzanne Scott. "It's been suggested our primetime three, meaning Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, and Laura Ingraham, should independently or together say something like the election is over and Joe Biden won." Murdoch continued that such a statement would go a long way to stop the myth that the election was stolen. Fox's CEO then forwarded that email to the executive president of primetime programming at Fox, saying, "I told Rupert that privately, they're all there. We need to be careful about using the shows and pissing off the viewers, but they know how to navigate." Which is all, wow. If you widen the aperture a bit, and if you look at the big picture here, the core of what Dominion is alleging is that Fox felt forced to push lies about the election so they wouldn't lose their Trump-supporting audience. They were terrified of losing them. They were just desperate to stay in their good graces. And so they lied again and again. Loyalty at all costs.